Hi, it's Lydia Amanda for Portrait Creatives. In this episode, we are going to talk about how to turn photos into custom brushes in Photoshop. In fact, this is the second video of this 3 mini series about how to create your own custom brushes in Photoshop. And if you haven't watched the first one about how to take photos of objects and textures, make sure you go ahead, follow the link in the description to watch the first video. This is super fun and exciting. Let's get started. So now we are in Photoshop. I'm really happy about the results. It looked quite amazing to me. And so I can't wait to turn them into brushes and just try them out, what they can do. So let me take you through all these photos I took with my phone. And you can see I tried to make some different shape, some interesting shape. And so we can work around and use it for different type of purpose. One of this is shot with the kitchen paper towel. And it doesn't work so well because of the texture of the paper towel. So I'm not going to use this. It will give me a little bit problem when I trying to create them as a brush. So instead, it's better to have a smooth surface like this. So I'm going to just use a couple of them, maybe. I'm just going to use one of them to generate. This one looks interesting. So I'm just going to mark 1 star and I'm going to take it into Photoshop. I'm using beta at the moment. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just turn this into black and white. Okay, so I'm just going to reduce all the saturation. And then I'm going to add, that's hue saturation adjustment layer. And the next one, I'm going to use levels, because I'm going to turn all these oats to become very pale-ish, very whitish. Like this is too much. I think about here was just right. You still can see some texture and they are very bright. And then with the black background, I want it completely black. You can see there's no texture there, and you can see also like this is the data falls over here. So just about here, the background will become completely black. That's where we want to be. And then you can see also this histogram indicates that that's just the right place. Like this is with some texture, the black texture, and we want to remove it all. That's why we go past it. Okay, so that's about right. And then I'm going to adjust this to make the texture less. Okay, I'm going to just adjust the mid-tone to make this less texture. Okay, so that's about it. And then I'm going to merge them into one layer. That's Command, Option, Shift, and E. Okay, and I'm going to invert it. Command I to invert it. Okay, so that's how it looks like. When I invert it, the black will become white, the white will become black. Okay, that's called invert. I make them black and white first, so it's easier for me just to alter them by inverting them. Black will become white, white will become black. And with brushes, all the texture of the brush should be all in black or grayish tone. Now you can see there are some textures. And background has to be white. That's how a brush works. Go to Edit and define brush set. And I'm going to call this Particle 1. Okay, click OK. So that's my particle brush. Look at this, it's super cool. So in the first video, I have used 2 types of texture that everyone can find it at home. One is oat, the other one is tea leaf. If you don't have loose tea leaves, you can absolutely use any tea bag. When they dry, you can open them with a scissor and use the tea leaves there, broken tea leaves there, and it's the same process as I show you with the loose tea leaves. Okay, so I'm going to use one of those tea leaves texture to create a particle brush. Okay, so I'm seeing like maybe this one, it looks good, so I'm going to give it a 1 star and I'm going to open it in Photoshop. So I'm just going to open with the Adobe Photoshop Beta version. Okay, it's similar what we did with the black background, but this one we don't have to invert it at all because it's already a white background. So first thing I'm going to do is turn this to black and white so I can see it better, how I can edit it. So this is black and white. You can use this, or you can also use this hue and saturation and just remove all the saturation. Then you will have the same result. I'm going to just delete it. I'm just use black and white this time. And then I'm going to use my level adjustment layer. It's important the background is completely white. And you can see the histogram over here. The white have a lot of data over here, right? Have a lot of information. And what I'm going to do, just drag it on the edge here. So all these informations are gone, become completely white, okay? And that's what I want. And then I'm going to drag this black slider to make them very dark. So they have that heavy texture here. And then here, mid-tone, I'm just going to play around just to see what is the best for this brush. I'm seeing maybe here is good. So I have something like very dark and also something light. So that is a good combination of a brush. I can also increase the contrast. Okay, so you see there's more black particle would appear. It's more solid. So I'm going to stay here and going to just move this slider. Okay, it doesn't really seem to have any effect. So don't worry, I'm just going to leave it like that. So add a new layer. I'm just use a good old clone stamp tool to move these. Okay, current layer. Let's see, change it to current and below. Okay, then I just can move this all away. We don't need this. This is a long one. I'm going to remove this big particles. Basically, I want something that has a little bit more gap, like loose particle. So I am going to remove all this very dense part of the particle. Then, okay, going to move all this. You know what? I don't need to use a clone stamp tool. I can just use a white brush because I want the background to be white. So I can just use a white brush, just brush them over. I don't need a clone stamp tool. So I don't even need to sample it. Look at that, okay? It's much easier, just paint them. Let me just remove all this. I just need a few particles. Okay, and I'm going to move this big part as well. And here, let's say, moving this. Because if I have a lot of particle information here, it will look like a bunch, and like the oats we did. So the aim for this brush is to be more loose, and that's why I don't want too much particles, objects here. I just want to have a few. Okay, so let me remove this one as well, and let's see, like this, just a few. So it's not just like you photograph the particle, you photograph the object, and that's done. You can absolutely modify it the way you want, right? Like what I'm doing right now, just to change the brush look to the way I want. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. I'm going ahead, just going to merge all this layer to one layer, a new layer. So Command, Option, Shift, and E. And then I'm going to edit and define brush preset. And I'm going to say this is particle 2 and click OK. Look at that's my new brush. Look at that. Exactly like that, right? So I'm going to find image to experiment this new brush. This is the second video of this mini series of 3. In the next one, we are going to implement using these brushes we created. We're going to use these brushes to create some special effects on portraits. So make sure you subscribe to our channel so you won't miss out the next episode. And I'll see you in the next one.